Right, I saw some comments ramping up about my seam sealer methods, and I wanted to real quick clarify some things and talk to you guys about where I come from on this stuff and kind of where the automotive industry kind of drops it. Back years ago, if a car was rusted, the automotive industry would just figure it's junk, you're going to get rid of it and build a new one. Now there's become more of this restoration industry, and so what's happened, a lot of the products from household have become more usable in the automotive industry, and they've kind of incorporated some of these things from the household industry. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing from rust, like this product right here, is not typically an automotive product. These were made for household use and are being used for automotive, and they work. Okay, my background, I was back in the 80s, 70s, or early 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I was in the automotive industry. I got out of it, and now I'm in the building and trades industry. And guess what I do? I'm a painting contractor. So I'm a painting contractor, and I typically work for sign companies. So sign companies hire me because, when the chips are down and they need it done right, they call me and I do it. It's not going to be cheap, but it's done and it's finished, and it's never going to happen again, or whatever their problem is, I fix it because I know a lot from the automotive industry all the way through all different types of paints because I've been doing it basically my whole life, painting. Okay, so, and this welding stuff and all this stuff is kind of secondary to paint, right? Because you do body work before you paint typically. And that's where I learned a lot of these things about body work. So I saw a comment that said something about silicone causes rust. And there's, far as I know, there's no actual relation to silicone causing rust, but I would not use a silicone related product on any automotive application because I don't really know this for sure, but I believe that the silicone actually etches all the way into the metal to bond. And that can be a problem because what can happen is you could actually trap moisture into the metal, and that would be what would cause rust, not the actual silicone itself. If you Google silicone makes rust, you'll find out real quick that there's no chemical property in silicone to do that. So what do I use for seam sealer, and how do I come up with my theories, and why did I use them? Okay, this is paintable acrylic painter's caulk. Now, this can cause rust because it's water-based. But just for your information, that you guys don't know this, and a lot of people in the automotive industry don't know this, that there are products called DTM. They're coming out, and this is all transferring. They didn't have this stuff years ago. There's products called DTM, water-based paint primer that goes directly to metal and adheres and doesn't rust. So there is a way to put water-based stuff over metal that doesn't rust. Okay, there are chemical properties and things like that they use for that. So don't think that whatever you put on that's water-based is going to cause rust. But I would never use this product. You notice this is a 25 year. It has no silicone. It's acrylic painter's caulk. I would not, and this is all my opinion. You can do whatever you want to do, but I just wanted to make sure that nobody gets misled. Okay, you can do whatever you want to do with this stuff. If you don't want to do any of these things, that's fine. You can use all automotive stuff. That's fine. I use some automotive, and I use some household products. If I use this product right here, it is going to be over a painted surface. So for instance, if I was going to coat that there with this, I would make sure that it's completely painted, that there's no bare metal, and then put this over. Now, the reason that they don't have this type of stuff for automotive is because, in my opinion, I think that they are looking for stuff that dries very, very quickly. Because when a car's in a shop, it's all about repair. Repair is where the money is in automotive. It's not in the restoration business. So automotive paint companies don't care about restoration. All they care about is the wreck repair, because that's where there's millions and millions and millions of dollars. So they make these products here, like this one here, this seam sealer, all right? And this dries very quickly, and they have things like the epoxy seam sealers and all those other things. And I believe the reason that they use those is because they even dry faster and harder, and you can get it to the booth and paint it sooner. So if you're not looking to do that, if you're looking for a long-term thing, the alternatives that I use actually do work, but you have to think about what you're doing. You can't just do it willy-nilly with no thought. You know, it's you know, anything you do with no thought, you're just doing a repetition, you're going to have problems with. Okay, in my business, that's what I deal with all the time. I'm always dealing with guys who do repetition, same thing, same old, do it over and over and over, and they go out and they get a difficult situation, and then they call me. So, and that's when I go out and fix it. That's how I make my money. All right, so those things are designed to dry fast. They have stuff in them to dry fast. Now, I believe that this product right here, this OC Quad stuff right here, is designed for windows. It again, it's not a silicone property. It is an oil-based caulk. Very similar to this one, but it doesn't have the stuff to make it dry quickly. Okay, very similar. Not designed again for putting on metal, on steel. They don't have it because typically windows are not made of steel. Usually they're made of aluminum, and it says for them to be coated because there may be some properties in this that are corrosive. I don't know. But over a painted surface, I believe that this product right here will work really well as a seam sealer. But the problem with it is it takes 24 hours to dry. So for you guys who maybe are doing restoration, you might want to, you know, take a look at this stuff and see if you think it's okay to use. I think it would be. And some people say, well, it's not an automotive label, so it's not going to work in automotive. Well, neither is this. Okay? A lot of the automotive products, back years ago when I was in the automotive paint business, they did not have anything except for, like, I think rust mort, and then they had the rust jelly you could put on rust to remove it. Nobody thought about cutting it out or removing it or doing a restoration. Back then it was all wreck repair stuff, and it's still kind of in that same business, but there's been, you know, they've realized there's money in restoration, a little bit of that, so they've come up with like these weld-through primers and all these different things to try and sell people to make money. And a lot of it, like I said, is basically it's household products that they've converted into automotive. So, you know, maybe you could do the same thing yourself, and that's kind of what I do on mine. But so if I have a gap or something like that and it's painted, okay, I've used this product right here, OC Quad, super strong. It's unadhesive as well. And then this right here is painter's caulk, as long as it's painted. Now, I learned a lot of this stuff years ago from an old Mexican guy in the body shop when I was about 18 years old about some of these things. So I've kind of kept my mind open. I never closed my mind to things. But then, again, like I said, it's got to be painted. Do not put it over bare metal. If you do, you're going to ask for rust. Rust is going to come and get you if you put it over bare metal. This stuff right here. It's weird. As soon as if you put this over bare metal, put it over a piece of bare metal somewhere, and just look at it the next day, and you'll see red. You know, immediately it starts to rust. So, but if it's over something that's painted, and you wait, I'm going to say 3 or 4 days before you paint it, because you don't want to entrap the moisture inside this product. You want it to dry completely, all of it to dry out of it before you use it to paint over it. You don't want to put it down, paint it, you know, and then trap it in. You know, no, you gotta let it dry. I'll come out of it. Now, this OC Quad is not a water-based product, so in my opinion, I think it's probably a good alternative, a lot cheaper than this stuff here. And I think I think a lot of that is because the automotive industry wants that markup, man. They anything that's, whenever it's automotive, they just crank up the money. It's like, anything you see, it's basically the same damn thing. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people aren't going to like this, but I think that, the Por 15 is just a tweaked Rust-Oleum. It is. And that's my opinion. I think it's got a little bit more tannic acid or a little bit more phosphoric acid, whichever vehicle they use to kill rust. But basically, it's a tweaked product. When you can get Rust-Oleum has something called heavy rusted metal primer, which has even more of the acid in it. And I think it has even better properties in it than even Por 15, and they charge a lot more money for the Por 15. Typically, I don't use it because of that reason, because I think it's very, very similar properties, because I have experience in both fields. I've had experience in when it comes to household painting and stuff like that, or building and trades, you deal with a lot more rust, okay? And in the automotive industry, only in the restorations they're dealing with rust, So guys with my experience might have a little bit more knowledge in that field than some of the guys that are doing restorations even. So anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. A lot of people are not going to like this. They're not going to agree with it, and that's okay. But I'm just trying to throw it out there for you guys. And listen, I don't put any product on without thinking about what I'm doing. So I want you guys to think that way. If you're going to do a repair, I want you to think about that specific repair that you're doing, and think about what is the best thing for you to put on that, and then why. If there's no reason why, then to me, you're not really thinking it through enough. You need to really think about what you're doing, and then make sure, like I would never put any of these products directly over that. I don't know if this one will or not. I don't know. It may. This also has adhesive properties. So it's an adhesive sealant. That's very, very similar to the properties of this right here. It's an adhesive sealant. Both of them are. One's designed to hold a really freaking heavy window in. One's for panels. And this stuff is, I mean, there's ones that are better. I know there's ones that are better, and there's ones that are more expensive. Okay. But they're all adhesive sealants. And I think that the ones that have have better adhesive properties, and this one has a really good flexibility. So, and it's a lot cheaper. For something in the same specs and automotive as this, it would be like $20 a tube, and you're going to have 10 tubes on a VW bus or so. So I use this one sometimes, especially when I need it to dry quickly. And then I use this one here when I know, I'm going to do that gap over there on the side, on the wall, because I want to use adhesive. I don't want to weld it, and I want it to be able to be flexed a little bit. So I'll use this one, and I'll make sure it's painted before I put it on, and then I'll put it on there, and then this will be, in my opinion, be very, very strong, long lasting, and instead of using this, because I know I can let it sit there for, I'm going to let it completely dry. I believe that's why that the automotive industry won't use the water-based caulk, is because of basically the drying time. When years ago, I remember in the old Hispanic guy's body shop, he used water-based caulk all the time. But again, it sat outside. It was dry for 3 or 4 days before he'd ever paint it. And that's the key thing. If you entrap that moisture inside of it, it's going to rust. It's going to do the opposite of what you're trying to get it to do. But if you let it completely dry and then seal it with paint, I think it's a valid way to repair something. I mean, it's just up to you. It depends on your budget. Typically, if you're on a really tight budget, this is $1.50 a tube. That's $5. I'd almost want to spend the extra money and get the OC Quad. This is about $12 a tube, $10 or $12, and some places you'll even see it for $16 if you have to order it on Amazon or something like that. And then some of the seam sealers are $20 or more a tube, you know, and I just think it's a kind of an overpriced thing that they're just kind of using the automotive industry, the automotive name, and the drying time that you need for repair. You know, like if you're doing a big body shop, I totally understand that. I get it. But, you know, this is paintable, has no silicone. This is paintable, has no silicone. This is paintable, has no silicone. You know, the properties are very similar, I think, between this one and this one. So, anyway, that's just my opinion. Do what you want to do. But I just wanted to throw this out there because I just saw some comments wrapping up, and I would not use silicone over any kind of automotive repair at all. So, anyway, I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.